We keep talking about numbers as our variable types are being hugely useful, and for scientific computing that's likely the case. If we're dealing with numeric values, then we probably want to manipulate them in some way. And in Python, we can apply various mathematical operations to variable values using a mixture of symbols that will probably make sense to you and symbols that may not make sense to you if you're not if you're particularly new to coding. So just to rattle through these, this one's fairly straightforward. A plus sign B means add A to B. That's fairly straightforward. Similarly with minus, that's fairly straightforward. This can be a bit more unusual if you're not used to coding. So this says A multiplied by B. We use the asterisk here. It is not A x B. That won't work. X is a character, and it will be looking for something called X if you put in an X there. Similarly, division, we use / here. Say A divided by B. Modulus, we use the percentage sign here. We'll come back to modulus in a second. Modulus, or the modulo operator, basically says return the remainder from, so A divided by B and then return the remainder. And I'll come back to that in a second because it's quite useful. If we want to say A to the power of B, we use a double asterisk. So rather than a single one for multiplication, we use a double one to say raise A to the power of B. These ones down here are really useful as well. Little shorthand things when we want to increment or decrement stuff. And very often in your code, you'll be counting things or counting down from things. And this can be a really useful thing. So we could type. So for example, imagine we had a variable called A, and each time through a loop or something, we wanted to add 1 to that counter. We could say A equals A plus 1. And that will say, let the value for A now be the value for A plus 1. Okay, so that adds 1 to A, basically. But a shorthand, a neat little shorthand you can do in Python, rather than say A equals A plus 1, because you do that kind of thing quite often, you can use this instead. You can say A plus equals 1, and that's basically just shorthand for A equals A plus 1. Because it's done so commonly, you can use this little shorthand notation. And that works for decrementing as well. So you can say A minus equals 2, or whatever the number is, and that's shorthand for A equals A minus 2. So you can put in whatever number you like here. 1 is the most common because you're usually using this thing for counting something, and you're usually incrementing, but you might decrement as well. So it's just worth flagging up. You'll see that quite a bit. Something plus equals typically 1, or it could be something else. Basically just means that value is that value plus 1. So I said I'd come back to modulus because that can be a bit weird, but it turns out it's really useful for certain stuff. So let's talk a little bit about it now. So modulus, as I say, you divide, you form a division operation and then basically return the remainder. So if we had 10 modulus 3, that means 10 divided by 3 and return the remainder. So 3 goes into 10 3 times, but we would be left with a 1 as our remainder. So 3 times 3 is 9, so we're left 1 short, but we can't get any more 3s into 10. So we have a remainder left over, and our remainder is 1, and that's what would be the value returned from a modulus operation. Okay, so 10 modulus 3, the result would be 1. If we had here 20 modulus 2, that means 20 divided by 2, return the remainder. Now 2 goes into 20 exactly 10 times, and we've got no remainder, there's nothing left over. And so 20 modulus 2 would give us a value of 0. Okay, so it's a little bit weird if you're not used to that sort of thing. Modulus is really handy.